Hey everybody, welcome to Behind the Mirror. I'm your host, Keith Posehn, CEO of Zors, and today I got my friend David Rodnitsky here. We're going to talk AI. This is going to be really interesting. Thanks everybody for listening. I got David Rodnitsky, a great friend of mine. He founded 3Q Digital a number of years ago and then sold it just a couple years back to Dept. And now you're kind of tooling around, figuring out some things. We got an interesting conversation for AI today. So let's just jump straight into this. Dude, as you put it earlier, we are heading to a zero-click environment in search. I mean, it's going that way. What's the example? You said it was the lift gate for your, or the lift gate for your car. You did a search, and what happened now?
Yeah, I mean, I may be using the wrong car terminology, but I know you're here to correct me because that's one of your areas. Yeah, so my wife had a SUV, and the lift gate would only go halfway up, and so we just thought there was something wrong mechanically. So I went to Google and I said, QX60 lift gate only go halfway up, and the GEO results, so the AI results, said, oh, do this, push it all the way to the top. Hold the button for 3 seconds. When you hear a beep, let go, and then close it. I did it, and voila, it's fixed. Yeah. And what was crazy about it, I mean, from a marketing perspective, because my agency that I started, 3Q Digital, was primarily a Google advertising agency. That's where we sort of had the best reputation, and most of our revenue came from. And Google is an expert at finding a way to get their pound of flesh when it comes to search results. Yeah. So they are constantly iterating and testing ways to get you to click on those little advertisements on the top or on the side of the page. I guess actually only on the top at this point. And so the fact that that query, how do I fix my Infinity, which may have 2 years ago gone to either a help site where you pay money to an expert, or something that takes you through 20 pages, all with a combination of display ads and affiliate links right? That's gone. I mean, Google, that query, which might have made Google $1 a year ago, made Google $0 now. But as I said, I mean, we can talk about what does that mean, but I think it was pretty shocking to me at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting how a lot of the behavior has changed. We're seeing one of my team has been looking at GA for different clients. We're finding the top 3 referrers now are OpenAI, Anthropic's, Claude, and then other tools in there as well that are looking we're finding the top results or top traffic's coming from AIs at this point. So we're seeing so much happening there, and it means it's visiting, and not just in a crawling standpoint. This is also referring traffic too. So they are referring stuff in it. So we're finding the behavior shifting. We're asking questions into LLMs. We're getting answers there. I, for one, have been using Google Sheets since Google Sheets existed. I don't go search anymore for an answer to Google Sheets on Google. I go ask ChatGPT and I say, no, I need a formula that does this, this, and this. Or I actually did this with Claude now. I went and said, I got this spreadsheet in Google Drive. Go ahead and tell me in this sheet, in this area, I need a formula that does this, and it'll do it. It will tell me how to do that. So it's we found this massive aggregation almost of context in a way, but then the behavior shifting. But to your point, Google isn't making money off that query yet. And I'm wondering, how do we get placement? People put so much content in here, and it's content that it still matters because the LLMs are still looking at this to gauge it. They're still doing this. Is anyone going to produce content, or what's this look like?
Yeah, and it's the Wild West right now. No one knows what's going to happen. I had an idea 15 years ago that Facebook or Google should just offer a premium subscription for $15 a month with no ads for people who didn't want ads. And so, I mean, maybe there's something like that comes down the transit where it's Google, because look, ChatGPT is charging, right? I mean, they have a free version that's pretty junky. But otherwise, you got to pay $20 a month to get that service. Maybe Google does the same thing, and they say it's $20 a month to use a combination of Gemini and Google Search and VEO3. If it does that, then it's gotten its pound of flesh. But then the question is, what happens to all the people who have supported Google for the last 15 years? And I don't mean this in the sense of there's some Google has some philosophical obligation to help SEM experts or SEO experts, but it's at the end of the day, Google's going to take care of itself. and it's going to be do whatever it can to get 50 cents for every time someone visits their site. And it's unclear what's going to happen to SEO and to SEM. I mean, I have a
Yeah.
friend who said, who's been in SEO for years, and people have always been saying for the last 30 years, SEO is dying. This is the end of SEO. SEO is going to die. And it never seems to die. It's sort of like a cockroach after a nuclear
Yeah.
war. But his argument was, look, at the end of the day, if you're providing content in GEO content, and it's relevant and it's important and it makes sense. Number one, you're going to show up in
Yeah.
that place, and number two, people are going to click through in some capacity. That's the glass half full approach. I'm actually probably more
Yeah.
glass half empty, but that's what some people are saying is going to be the end result.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the LLMs are all based off of information that's out there. They're not just conjuring this out of the ether. There's something that's a reference. When they're trained, when they're calling the Web4 using agents, they're doing this work. I think, there may be some attempts to regulate to say, oh, if an LLM does this, you must backlink. I don't know how that's going to fly. I don't know how regulation's going to be able to catch up with this or even manage to accomplish anything. But the flip side, too, is it's still, the SEO is dying thing. It's like, no, it still matters. The content still matters. If you're out there, you've got to be discovered for an LLM to recommend you. If the LLM's, it's because it's just an aggregation of information. It's not connecting this on its own. So it still matters. Whoever had all the placement before is still going to benefit from that. And now they're going to benefit going forward. Just the question is how.
Yeah, and it's evolving so quickly, right? I mean, someone said, I get tired of hearing about a decade of innovation every week, and that's kind of what's happening in the AI world. I mean, it seems like every week there's a new king. Like, oh, it's Grok. Grok is the best. They won. They solved that math problem faster than everyone else. And then a week later, oh no, it's Perplexity. Perplexity is the best. Oh no, wait, Mark Zuckerberg just paid $1 billion for this really smart guy. So now it's Meta. Meta's the best. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know how venture capitalists are investing in this, frankly, but also as a marketer, you have to be very quick to pivot because things are changing that quickly.
Yeah, and I've been finding it's like for like another friend who's doing like SEO and affiliate, like he's found that it's getting more important because the LLMs are recommending based on what people say. And so if you can get out there and you have good content, even if it's referral programs or customers talking about it, or just affiliate content, it's still counting for something. It's still having an impact. Tracking that's gotten hard. Like we've got our own solution for that, but it's hard to do because you got to know. There's this question coming from executives saying, well, is it even worth doing this if everyone's going to LLMs? And the SEO team has to raise their hands and say, no, this is worth doing because the LLM has to get trained on something. And every time it trains, we've got to be out there. If we're not, we're going to lose an opportunity. But then they're being told, how do you reconcile this? How do you prove to me that it's working? And then that's whole nother kettle of fish. And so it's like, I don't know that SEO is dying as much as people are maybe determined to kill it. Is that a thing? Is it going to be self-fulfilling prophecy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think people follow the money, but
True.
I feel like, look, I mean, when it comes to search engines, there's always been different monetization schemes for different parts of the search ecosystem. So, for example, it used to be said that 47% of Google queries were non-commercial queries. So if someone types in, I don't know, like, I need to tie my 6-year-old's shoelace. There's not really a commercial intent there. And so Google historically has not served paid search ads on those type of queries, and instead has relied on organic traffic. So SEO has been a great fit for that. But now you maybe get to the point where stuff that was the domain of SEO, like the tie my daughter's shoelaces, maybe that is better served from a user experience by offering an AI answer. Maybe you see just a further bifurcation, whereas SEO might have been the prominent source for 47% of traffic 2 years ago, and now it's going to be 25% of traffic. Still valuable, and doesn't mean that you can't still show up and in the GEO results and get some of that 22% that you just lost. But there's gonna be a change, and you just have to pivot as you see it happen.
Yeah, that's a good point too, and I think it's like another one too, like talking about the GEO results as well. We're finding that the way like Google at least is showing it, they're showing, if it's a text one, like to your point, like the infinity liftgate things, like just a couple steps, there may be a link icon there, but you're not going to click those. But some others that might be a little bit more complex, it will show a video, a thumbnail, it'll tell you something about it. And I do think it's an interesting thing because this is an opportunity, at least for Google, to drive people further within their own, not quite walled garden, but definitely within their ecosystem. Like, well, here's your GEO answer. Here's the YouTube videos that we got that reference that. And they're going to make money off of a second click, which is still really high intent. Because then the person goes there, watches on a how-to video, 3, 4, skippable ads in there, the first a pre-roll and then 2 interims that are going to show up in that 10-minute video that you go through. Because, I don't know, I don't think they would artificially make the instructions less useful, but they would want to get people to come in there because, maybe to that point, that percentage of searches that were historically not monetized or not monetizable for Google are now going to be monetized in another degree, where they're going to go ahead and they're going to get you into YouTube, where they're going to have a higher effective CPM than if you went to that how-to article result in the SERPs that is loaded up with display ads and other stuff that they're going to make some GDN revenue off of, some CPM there, get you to the YouTube video where they have a much higher CPM and make sure that they answer the question enough that if you're good, you turn away, but if you want a little bit more, you click through to the source that they have.
You're right. I mean, you mentioned something that brings up a couple interesting points. First of all, if you look at the Google paid search ecosystem, Google has always optimized for two things in addition to revenue. The first is the likelihood that someone will click on an ad today, and the second is the likelihood someone will click on an ad in the future. And so the future one is relevant because what Google and Facebook did by offering pay-per-click advertising that was based on a combination of click-through rate and what Google calls quality score. It was the first time in the history of advertising that a publisher said, we are optimizing for relevance. And it's important because relevance drives lifetime value. Yep. If Google has a terrible experience, if you go and you type in mortgage quotes and the ad says, we have hundreds of mortgage quotes, click here, and you get sent to a page that's trying to get you to fill out a bankruptcy debt refinancing form or something, you don't click back on Google, right? So this is something that Google sort of figured out. Like, we need relevancy now, we need relevance in the future. When you talk about what you just mentioned, which is like, what about the secondary click? What about if Google can sort of make the GEO result be sort of helpful, but you have to go click beyond? First of all, they used to have this concept called made for AdSense back in the day, when people would purposely buy Google ads that would force you to click into their site to click on another Google ad that was more monetizable than the first Google ad. And Google stopped that because it was hurting relevancy. So I would say, just to finish this sort of random rambling point at this point, 5 years ago, Google was the only game in town. Let's be honest. When it came to search, I mean, there was Yahoo and there's Bing, and no disrespect to those companies, but Google's market share is 95%. Now there's a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff is the LLMs. And so Google has to be especially careful about creating an irrelevant or bad relevancy result. Because as you said, this next generation, it's going to be a battle. Is this next generation going to be trained to go to an LLM first or a GEO result first? Or is there still going to be elements of how they interface with the internet that has an element that starts and ends at Google?
Yeah, I think that's the battle that's being fought right now. It's like, where does the journey start? Where does the journey end? And who kind of like keeps you in it? And I think there's a very real possibility ChatGPT has got that, but that it's moving so quickly. To your point earlier, it's evolving so fast. We really don't know where it's going to land. And so tomorrow we could find it be completely different for any number of reasons. And I think that's what makes it so interesting, is that we're in a very low certainty environment right now. And anyone projecting certainty in this environment, I think, is either trying to sell you something or has no idea what's going on, because it really is not. And because the numbers may look one way one day and then completely the opposite next. We just don't know what's going to happen. But I think it also provides immense opportunity. And so, I mean, it's like with that, like I found like one of my affiliate sites has gotten so much traffic now. One of my old affiliate sites built in like 2007. Like this thing's old as dirt practically, and like web timeline is getting, oh, I want to say like 4x the traffic at a chat GPT that it gets from Google search now around like these just informational searches and their click-throughs. It's actually saying, come here and see it. It doesn't just say, this is the result of this. It's like, this is the result. This is how they're updating it. And I'm getting traffic from that. It's really interesting because it's got like 10,000 pages of just information that gets updated every couple days. But that's interesting to me. And so there's something. So what do you think? Where do you see the opportunity for like marketing professionals in this?
Coming from a performance marketing background, I think we have to sort of pivot from being the hands on keyboards making decisions to being the hands in the data and looking at the analysis and really figuring out like things that the AI tools haven't really sort of been able to comprehend.
Yeah.
It's hard, but I mean, if you think about it, like 10 years ago, if you were a performance marketer, you chose keywords, you created ad text, you created tracking links, you ran reports, you did all this stuff. And as Mark Zuckerberg said about 6 weeks ago, he said our goal, like in a year, is to make meta advertising completely, hands free, really
Yeah.
self driving, if you will. And so as a marketer, I mean, if you're someone who's an expert at the Google Ads ecosystem, and you're an expert at finding that query that no one else has found, I think the AI is going to take that over. If you're a creative person and you're really good at creating cool live action videos, AI is already there. They're taking that over. The targeting is already really being done to a large extent on Meta by Meta's algorithms, and the bidding is now coming under that same purview. So. I don't think it's all doom and gloom, but I think like the question is what do you do now? What you can't rest on your laurels. What do you do now to make yourself differentiated? And so I think something in the analytics and strategy world is where this is going to be relevant, and where maybe it means that you're putting in really sophisticated prompts, doing sophisticated research, and integrating offline and online performance and brand. Last click and first click.
Yeah. I think it's like a question of, who's going to be, it's not quite AI dominated, but who's going to you're going to get steamrolled by AI. Are you going to be, is it an industry segment that's AI dominated? Is it going to be one where you need to be AI native? Is it one where it's going to be AI resistant? I think like knowing some things that are AI resistant now may not be in the future. Some things that aren't or are AI resistant right now may become AI native in a sense. Like we're finding the speed by which things are evolving to be rather rapid and happening in like sudden shocks. Like it's not a constant thing. There's a sudden shock to the system. Like a thing changed tomorrow. Like we may find out tomorrow that Facebook just comes out and says, guess what? Nothing is on CPM or CPC anymore. Everything is CPA based, but you have to use this tracking code, do this and this, and we'll just make all your ads for you. And now they just sit there and they're the world's largest affiliate. Like could happen tomorrow. Like we just don't know. But I think it's about finding and staking your claim. If you're going to be in an AI dominant industry, you've got to be the one making the AI or leveraging it in ways that's really critical. If you're in an AI native one, maybe that's a transition state, or maybe it's one where you just really have to be leveraging it, but it's still valuable. And then AI resistant, I think, is going to be the exception. And I wonder if consumer behavior changes, if people will turn away from the types of situations where the players are AI resistant because they're used to the behavior of tools like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini as being their way that they interact with information and the broader world.
Yeah. I think your categorizations are interesting. I think that revolutions take longer to happen than we often think.
Oh, yes.
So I've made this mistake like 6 times in my career now. Like in 1996, I decided it wasn't a good idea to learn how to build websites because I thought by 1998 all the websites would have been built. And then in 1998, I had an eBay business making a couple $1,000, paid for my spring break when I was in law school. But I dropped it in 1999 because I was like, eBay is going to be a fad. It'll be done in a year. And so I can just show you this over and over again where I thought the peak had happened and it was long ways away. And so I think when you think about it from a marketing perspective, like right now, AI is very scary. truth is that AI is not really infiltrated marketing teams as much as it probably should. But
Hmm.
even if it does, there's going to be a 5 or 6 year period where there's going to be a lot of confusion about AI. There's going to be a lot of companies that are afraid and they're going to need help with, let's call it AI transformation.
Yep.
Um, and that's going to be an opportunity for marketers to sort of do quite well for themselves. Now, at some point, I wrote an article that you may remember from like 12 years ago called "The SEM Agency is Dying and What to Do About
Hmm.
It." And
Yes, I do
was,
remember.
my argument was SEM is going to go away, and from an agency perspective, and I think I was largely right. But the reason I was right though was not because SEM is literally dead. It's that SEM has morphed. So SEM today is
Yeah.
really performance marketing. You have to do
Hmm.
affiliate and display and CTV and SEO and GEO and paid search and organic search and paid organic. Right? I mean, you don't hire an agency to do one thing like SEM like you did
Yep.
10 years ago. So I think the same thing is going to happen today. I mean, if you're an SEO agency or if you're an affiliate performance agency, you're not going to be dead in the next 5 years, but there's going to be change. And if you can be at the forefront of that change, you're going to make a lot of money.
So based on that, then I think to your point about like revolutionary right now, I think it's a combination of revolutionary and evolutionary. Like the revolution won't be televised in this case; it's going to be streamed, or it's going to be an answer that you get through your LLM. But it's also not like homogenous. I think there's a lot of talk of revolution in terms like what's happening, like a huge overturning of things. But it's also a lot of there's a lot of places that it's just an evolutionary thing. It's small steps that are happening that may turn out to be revolutionary or may lead to a sudden shift. I think we're seeing so much movement in so many different places. And so with that, like to your point about agencies and others in the space, like it went from being SEM only. You can't be that anymore. You really have to be a lot more to be really successful in the industry. You got to be able to own like a whole segment, an ecosystem area. I think my question for you is like, for all the people in the business here, like how are we all going to have to see this evolution happen, and how do we be adaptable to it? I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to constantly be researching and learning,
Hmm.
and not be afraid of testing. I mean, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that cartoon of the four cavemen carrying the car that has square wheels, and there's a
Hmm.
guy behind them with this circular wheel, and the cavemen say, "We don't have time for that innovation. We're carrying this car," And I feel like that happens all the time in marketing.
Hmm.
People start resting on their laurels. I mean,
Yeah.
so I think that. Yeah, I also think that like I've always said in the agency world, if I hear 2 or 3 clients ask me to do something and I'm not doing
Hmm.
it, it probably means I should start doing it.
Yeah.
So listen to the people that have that vote with their wallets. Um,
Yeah. I
and
also
and
think
that,
that,
I mean, don't panic because some of this is going to be evolutionary. I mean,
yep.
if you're a creative, I don't mean this to imply with like that if you're a creative, you're going to be out of a job in 6 months. Your job will probably
Hmm.
change. Your job will
Yes.
probably mean you may go out there and shoot some live action video, and then you may bring it back to AI and say, "I want you to create 20
Hmm.
iterations of this."
Yep.
But you're partnering with AI instead of being abandoned by AI. But you have
Hmm.
to be aware that like the days of charging $300,000 for a video shoot may be over.
Yeah. I think that brings to the question of again, like AI dominated AI or AI disrupted or AI native or AI resistant. I think most of it's going to be AI native to that point. It's like we got to be partnering with it. You have to be using it. Like my team uses it quite a lot. We've got it very well integrated into our business backend and more of the business like motion. But that's because we understood that there are ways that we want to scale and tools that we can use here. But I think it comes down to leadership too. Like we're seeing a lot of leadership mandates, like everything's got to be AI native. Everything has to be this. You got to invest in AI first. I'm like,
Don't
I
use
feel like that's
35%
short
of your
sighted.
time in AI, you're fired. Yeah.
Yeah, like what's the point of that? It's like no, like I was talking with another friend, and I want to get your take here. It was, they were super focused on everyone needs to be jumping up and using AI, and we were talking about it. I'm like, I think that the barrier, people aren't using it because it's not in a way they can. You got to take the barrier down. It needs to not be a hurdle they have to cross. It needs to be completely seamless because it's all about making people more effective. And I worry that there's too many almost reactionary mandates that are happening in the industry and tech that are, it's not a product of vision, it's a product of reaction that
Right.
is, I think, going to set people up not for failure, but it's definitely not setting them up for success. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think reactionary behavior. I mean, I remember back in COVID, as I'm sure you do. As
Hmm.
soon as COVID hit, people were like, "Batten down the hatches, cut all your marketing, everyone run for the hills."
Yeah.
And I remember talking to my clients, and I was saying, "Okay, let's. When you're looking at your cost per your CPAs, are they going up or going down? Well, they're going down. Is the ROAS going up or going down? It's going up. So maybe what's happening is there's a bunch of people panicking, but the
Yeah.
consumer appetite for your products is as strong as it ever was. And so if you stay the course, this could be the best quarter of your life. And for a lot of people, that's what
Hmm.
happened. I
Yep.
mean, the year after the year of COVID and the year after, I mean, the government flooded the flooded the streets with money. That helped.
Hmm.
But for people who actually looked at their metrics and didn't just panic, they had the best quarters of their lives. So
Yep.
that's an example. And I also think though that like there's I like this analogy of like small companies and startups are concerned about FOMO. We all know
Hmm.
FOMO, fear of missing out.
Hmm.
Large companies are concerned about FOMO, which is fear of messing up. And
Hmm.
so if you're a large
Yeah.
company, if you're Visa and you set up some AI marketing tool, and the AI marketing tool happens to put out a picture of a bunch of people in a stadium cheering a crowd, and one of them happens to be Adolf Hitler, the entire marketing team is fired. And the marketing
Hmm.
team in a larger organization is freaked out about messing up. Versus a startup that may have $500,000 left in the bank and comes to you and says, Keith, I'm going to give you this 500,000. You better turn it into a million or we're out of business. And I don't care
Hmm.
what you do, just do it. You may be like, all right, let's use some advanced AI to sort of really make this thing happen. If we make there's a couple bumps along the way, that's okay.
Hmm.
These guys are life or death. So it
Yep.
depends on the user in terms of how much risk they're willing to take.
Yeah. And I think it's like, we talked like one of the concepts in like a previous episode of the podcast I called tyranny of the familiar. Like in high risk situations or stressful situations, people tend to underestimate the risk of what they do know and overestimate the risk of what they don't. And I think it's this weird situation where people are overestimating the risk of what what they don't know in this funny way, a fear of messing up, but at the same time charging headlong into AI without really knowing. I'm like, it's kind of, I don't know how this is going to shake out, but I think it's going to be a lot of lessons for leaders and managers and people in the space to take away. There's going to be a lot written about this over decades to come because there's so much happening so fast. You can barely keep your head on straight among all of it.
Yeah. I do think that like as much as I sometimes poo-poo people overreacting to change,
Hmm.
and SEOs dying every 3 years is a report on that. I do think this is a different sort of situation. I do
I
think
do too.
AI is a tectonic shift in the way
Hmm.
things are done. I don't think we're there yet. I think that there's going to be another year or two, at least, before marketing teams really embrace AI. And frankly, the tools need to continue to be evolved, and they're
True,
evolving
they
very.
do. Hmm.
But yes, I think that this is different than the last like sort of 5 or 10. Oh my God! Oh, it's the mobile revolution. It's the social network revolution. It's the
Yeah,
revolution. I think this is bigger than all of those.
I do too. Wonderful. Well, thank you, my friend, for joining. Again, everybody got David Rodnitsky, great friend of mine, built his agency 3Q Digital, sold it to Dept a couple of years ago. Just wonderful time here. I'm Keith Posehn, the CEO of Zors, and we are a marketing consulting group that does customer referral programs, marketing AI, and even helps to audit your affiliate program. Hit us up anytime, hello@zors.com. That's ZORZ.com. And Dave, thank you again. Hope to get you on here soon. And thank you, everyone. I will catch you next week.